Good day, Mission Possible Podcast Nation. Doug Dvorak, your host here, your one-stop shop and source for all things possible with some incredible individuals. It's a high honor and privilege today to introduce Rick Barry. Rick is a retired professional basketball player who starred in the NCAA, ABA, NBA. He ranks among one of the most prolific scorers of all-around players in basketball history. He is the only player to lead the NCAA, ABA, and NBA in points per game in a season. In NBA Finals, he had the most points per game on average of 36.3, and he is widely known for his unorthodox underhand free throw technique. It's my honor and privilege to welcome Rick Barry. How are you, Rick?
Well, if I was any better, I'd be making a comeback in the NBA.
Well, it's nice to be with you, and really the purpose of our Mission Possible podcast is to bring unbelievable people like yourself that have had a storied career either in sports or in business, and even after enjoying that success, they are on and doing other things, following their passion. Tell us a little bit about what motivates you and what you're passionate about today.
Well, I mean, what motivates me is my father was a perfectionist, and my father, I got that from him a little bit. As I got older, I realized I can never be perfect, but it didn't stop me from trying to be perfect. I think you should always strive for excellence. He instilled in me the one characteristic that I think is really great is to always give your best effort in everything that you do. And then along with it, you should never be afraid to fail because nobody's perfect. You're going to fail. And intelligent people learn from their mistakes, and you just try to minimize those mistakes. And that helps you grow as an individual. And I'm always been of a very competitive nature. That's one of the things that after I retired from basketball, I had to find something else to do. And I did. I got into world long driving in golf and won 4 world long driving championships in my advanced age category. And then they got rid of that, and I couldn't compete anymore because they said they didn't want all the old farts around anymore, I guess. And so I got into pickleball, and I'm on the cusp of doing something special in pickleball in my age and skill category of winning the 4 major tournaments, both in which is called the Triple Crown in singles, mixed doubles, and men's doubles. And I just won the USA National Championship in pickleball this past week. And I'm going to go for the seniors next week. I won the US Open and also the World Seniors. So it keeps the adrenaline flowing and it gives me something to look forward to. I think in life you always have to have challenges, and you should set goals for yourself and try to make yourself perform at a level as high as possible. And that's just kind of what my makeup is. And that's the way I approach life. And I've been blessed with good health and have a great families, and all of my children are all doing well. Nobody's done anything foolish to get themselves in trouble. I just was blessed with another grandchild from my oldest son, Scooter, so I have 9 grandchildren now, and they're always fun, especially now that I got another little one who's only 19 months old. All the other ones most of them are grown. Some of them are through college. So it's really, to tell you the truth, Dave, it's hard for me to believe that I'm not 80 years old. I swear to, I mean, it's just mind-numbing to me. I don't feel 80 years old. I mean, I really don't feel much differently than I was in my 50s. In fact, I just had a lot of testing done at the World Seniors. They do a lot of health screenings, and my screenings were absolutely awesome and off the charts. And a lot of them said, "Heck, you're like you're a 50-year-old." I mean, so, and when I had a bad bicycle accident a few years back and fractured my pelvis in 6 places, the doctor told me afterwards, he said, "Rick, you're very fortunate." And I said, "In what regard?" He said, "Because if you had the bones of a man your age, I could never even have operated on you because the screws and the pins and all never would have held." So because I've taken care of myself, and which I've seen a lot of former pro athletes who I see at a lot of charity events that I go to, and they've let themselves go. I just don't understand why, because health is such an important part of life. I mean, you can have all the money in the world. If you don't have your health, what good is it? I mean, it always brings to mind when I saw a talk by Steve Jobs when he announced, that he had the cancer. I mean, all the money he could possibly do anything in the world with, but, he doesn't have a life anymore. He's gone. I mean, so take care of yourself, folks. I mean, my heavens. And I was mad. My mother didn't go in for checkups and wound up having a stroke, and then the second one, and it killed her. If she had gone in and got her daily checkups, so she could have lived, much longer. So health is really everything. You want to have your health. If you have your health, it's an easy way to stay happy and feel good. And in life, you can't make other people happy if you're not a happy person.
That's really good input. Rick, I'm going to pause real quick. It's Doug, not Dave.
Doug, I said Dave. I'm sorry.
That's
about
okay.
that.
Don't worry about
All
it.
right, I'll correct it. Let me correct it.
Okay.
Just keep going. We'll keep going. I'll get it.
Keep going, yeah. Rick, I really love your positive attitude and really embracing life. And as you've shared at age 80, how do you keep that same passion and that same focus on being engaged? You know, I'm 63 and I play a lot of pickleball as well, and I think we share the same mindset. But I have some friends that did well in business, retired, and they're couch potatoes. And I see when growth stops, decay begins. How do you keep that same focus, passion, and energy at 80 as you did when you were competing in the NBA?
Well, for me, it's kind of easy. And you know what? I just realized something because your last name D-A-V. I said, didn't I call you Dave instead of Doug? I did.
You did.
Anyway,
That's
so
okay.
I apologize for that. But that's a senior moment. So yeah, I don't know. I just always strive. Like I said, being a perfectionist and trying to be the best I can, never be satisfied. A perfect example of that is I was the best free throw shooter in the history of the NBA during my career and had the highest average for a long time. But yet I wasn't satisfied. And Tiger Woods reminded me a lot of Tiger Woods doing what I did. Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer in the world and changed his swing twice to get better. And so in my case, I was the best. I changed my free throw technique. My last 6 years, I shot over 92% average, my last full 6 years, which is better than anybody ever did. So I still think I'm the best free throw shooter. And I brag about it because it's the only part of the game you can be selfish and still help your team. And my last 2 years, I shot over 94% from the free throw line. And I'm proud of that but I wasn't ever satisfied. So I was a better free throw shooter at the end of my career than I was in the beginning. I'm kind of mad at myself that I wasn't smart enough to figure that out at the start of my career so I could have had that technique and I could have put up even better numbers.
Excellent. And in terms of your new passion, which is pickleball, can you tell us a little bit about your training regimen? Because I see at most of the big tournaments, and you're a very engaged and active pickleballer with some great titles. Tell us a little bit about your current training regimen.
Well, I'm actually two things in my passions, is that and fly fishing. So, I'm a much better pickleball player than I am a fly fisherman, but I'm getting better at fly fishing. And totally different. One I'm competing against myself and trying to catch the fish, and the other one I'm competing against, other individuals, which is totally different. But the pickleball, after they eliminated the older people from the Remax Long Driving Championship, which was called back when I was doing it, I said, I got to find something to do. My wife said, why don't you try pickleball? And I said, what the hell is pickleball? So it is a strange name, but it's really a great game. I love it so much. I'm involved actually in a lot of different businesses. Pickle Zone is something people can check out. Picklezone.com. Check that out. And a number of other ones, and involved with some, other companies doing things there, and involved in some cannabinoid companies which I use on a daily basis because you don't have any you don't have THC in it, and it just helps, and you don't have to take all of those other crazy drugs that can screw up your body. So I researched it, and I said, how can I get to be good at this? And so I found out there's a place in Florida where I spend the winters, and I'm actually a Florida resident now, and called The Villages, north of Tampa. And they have tremendous pickleball facilities there, and so many courts and so many great people playing, a lot of Hall of Fame older guys playing there. And I was hooked up with a guy named Dick Scott, and I called him up, and he said, oh, we'd love to work with you. And also I would get up at 6 in the morning and drive 2 hours to get to the Villages to go and play pickleball all day long. And I got to know Dick and some of the other players, and eventually some of the people said, hey, why don't you just stay over at our place? Which I said, that made more sense. So that I could drive, get done, have lunch, whatever, hang out there, get up and do it the next morning, and then come back the next day. So I get a lot more practice and a lot more playing. And the way to get better when you're doing something, anything in life, is especially if you're competing, is to compete against better people. It forces you to have to elevate your game. And so I said, okay, I'm going to work at this and get to the point where I'm good enough to be able to compete and try to win a national championship. Wow. And so I worked at it, practiced, did stuff, didn't play in any tournaments. And in my second year, my friend Jeff Johnson, who I met down in Florida, who's a really good competitive player, who was in his early 50s, he calls me on the phone one day. He says, Rick, would you like to play? There's a new pickleball facility opening up down here, and they're having a tournament. Would you like to play with me? And I said, you really want me to play with you? Because I know he's competitive. And so I knew that if he asked me to play, he has to think I'm good enough for him to win, because he wouldn't ask me to play because he doesn't like losing either. And so I said, sure. So I get off the phone and I say, honey, I've made it. And she goes, what are you talking about? You made what? I said, Jeff called me and asked me to play in the tournament coming up next week. And I said, he's not going to ask me to play, but I didn't think I can win. So I went and played with him, and we won the tournament. So my first ever tournament was the 50-year-olds, and I was in my 70s, wow. And we won the tournament. So that really made me feel good that the time and the effort I put in obviously was paying off. And so I've played, and, I play with a lot of people who are younger, and then I won a lot of national and world senior championships in mixed doubles and men's doubles. And of course, when you do that, you have to have a good partner. So I've been fortunate enough to have some really good partners. I play with a good buddy now, Fred Shuey, who's my partner, plays with me, played in the 70s. Now we played in the 80s, and we've won 2 titles again this year. That's helped me to get that triple crown. And then I had to find some other women. I got Sue Matthews down in Naples, Florida, who's 80 years old, and she was great, and we dominated. And then she doesn't like to travel, so I had to find someone else to play. So I've played and won 2 this year in the 2 of the other events. And Alice Tim, who was a former pro women's tennis player who had Billie Jean King at match point at Wimbledon one year. She was actually 13th in the world in tennis. And so I played with her, and we won, and I'm going to play with her next month, and same with Fred. And then I started this year, said I got to have another challenge. And so I said, you know what? I didn't start singles because I was afraid. I have no cartilage in my left knee from my operations in basketball. And so I didn't know if it would beat me up too much. And so I take a thing called Biogenesis, which is an amazing product that's natural and all, because I had to take Celebrex for my knee, and then I had to take Prilosec to protect my stomach lining from that in order to be able to use my knee and not be in all kinds of discomfort. And this new product was unbelievable. I haven't touched any of those things for years, and so my knee was feeling good. And I said, well, you know what? If I'm playing in the 80s, there's not going to be very many long rallies because, come on, we're freaking 80 years old. We can't run all over the court and, hit the ball 8, 10, 12 times like some of these guys do. And so I started to train again with younger guys. Doug Eden, a guy who does some investing for me, who was a top junior tennis player as well, and some of my other friends, Dave Mariano, and they're all younger. And, and my buddy Jim, anyway, they're younger, and so I played with them. And so after playing with them and getting training ready to play the singles this year, when I went to play against the older guys, it was like no contest because I'm playing against these young guys, and I had to play really high level to try to win and do well with them. And eventually, with Doug especially, my thing was how many points can I win, hopefully in a game, because but I eventually last year got a chance where I actually beat him a couple of times in one game. And so when I played against the other competition, again, because I prepared myself so well, it really wasn't much competition. Just in the last one, some really good guys I played against, but my 2 games in the semifinals and the finals, it was 11-2, 11-1, 11-2, 11-0. So wow. It was, I felt badly, but not so badly that I didn't crush them, because I always learned that you do something, you got to crush somebody. You don't try to make friends out there, you're trying to beat somebody. Right. And I don't try to rub it into them, but really good guys. And so anyway, that's kind of what happened, and that's the way that I approach things. And I love it. And the same thing with fly fishing. I always want to get better. So when I go out, I tell the guides, look, if you see something I'm doing wrong, tell me, because I don't want to grow a bad habit, and tell me and give me pointers. What can I do to be better? And so I'm always striving to get better in anything that I do in life. I'm never satisfied. And I tell people when I talk to businesses, when you get to the point that you think you've really made it and you stop trying to improve, that's the start of the old downward spiral. That's the start of your failure. You're going to go downhill from there. You can't be satisfied when you reach a certain level or a certain plateau. You always need to strive to improve and get a little better.
I totally agree, and that mindset. Rick, you've had a storied collegiate, professional career as a professional basketball player. You've also had a fair amount of success in business. Can you share a specific moment when you faced significant failure or setback, and how did you bounce back from it?
Well, I probably remember the bad things in basketball more than I do the good things. I remember that 2 pick and roll plays between Nate Thurman, my teammate, and myself with Wilt Chamberlain from the 76ers 1967 finals. Had those 2 plays gone our way, we might have won in 6 games instead of the 76ers, who were picked as one of the great teams in the history of the league. And those things to this day still haunt me. I got stuck on the second pick and roll play was the one that was worse than any. The first one, the official should have called the foul, and he didn't. And the second one, I came off and used Nate, went up for a jump shot, and saw Nate roll to the basket and was getting ready to throw it to him to get an easy basket. And Wilt Chamberlain took the biggest step I've ever seen a human being take in my life, and he cut off my passing angle. And so I had to double clutch the shot, and I missed it. It was such a critical play late in the game 6. So I kind of remember that, and and those are the things that you just have to get over. I mean, here's the thing. People have a tendency to get wrapped up in their emotions with things that happen to them on a continual basis, and they just let it linger. Once it's over, it's over. It's in the past. You can't ever change what has happened. Okay, I don't think unless I can get the car to go back to the future. I can't. You can't change it, and so it astonishes me. But I've learned over time that most people, the majority of people, do not have the ability to do what I call compartmentalization, is to take things and stick it on the back burner in your head and don't think about them, because you can't change them. And if you think about them, they can make you disappointed. They can give you, anyway, you can. I said, look, cry, get over it, forget it. I have the ability to do that, fortunately. So I don't think about it. Like when people ask me, Rick, do you miss playing basketball? And I say, no. They look strangely at me.
Really?
Really? I said, no, because why? I said, I don't think about it. Why would I think about the fact that I never again am going to be able to play the sport that I love so much, that was such an integral part of my life, and I'll never be able to do it again at a level that I was able to do it at? And like people ask me, do you still play? I said, what, are you crazy? Why would I want to go out and play? I used to play at a high level. Why would I want to go out and play, possibly get hurt, and not play very well? And so I just don't think about those things, and I'm lucky to do that. And in a lot of ways, it's helped. The same thing, like with the passing, my mom and dad passed. And I actually prayed for my mom and dad to die, and I thank God every day for that, because they had situations that were just not good. And so I said, thank you, God. That's a great thing. But I don't think about all those things because it was very sad. I mean, you don't realize, nobody sits around thinking your parents are going to die one day. And then all of a sudden the reality hits, and the next thing you know, they do it. Like, I got up, my brother talked about my mother, I got up to do my father, and man, I couldn't believe how emotional I got during that time. And once I got over that, I don't think about that all that much, because it's very sad. Why do I want to think about something that makes me sad? I mean, I don't want to continually feel that way and be depressed. And the same thing, I talk to a lot of people who've had a lot of tragedies and things happen in their life, and I say, look, you lost someone you love. Not an easy thing. The last thing in the world that person that you love so much would want to see is you being depressed and being in the state that you're in right now. If for no other reason, for yourself, you should be doing it. But if you love them so much, do it for them. They wouldn't want to see you like this. And so, but it's easy to say. Fortunately, I can deal with it, but a lot of people can't, which, I feel sorry for people who can't deal with tragedies and things of that nature in a way that doesn't screw up their life.
Yeah, the past is the past. Compartmentalization. Yeah. Rick, you were a player coach for the Golden State Warriors. You had to balance.
No, I wasn't a player coach. I was never a player coach.
You were not?
No. I was never a player coach.
Okay, then.
No, I coached in the minor leagues. I coached in the minor leagues some, but I was never a player coach. A lot of people said I was like having a coach on the floor, because I really understood the game. My father was a semi-pro player and coach, and he taught me the game. And again, I thought the game. I understood the game. I didn't just go out and just play. I mean, I studied the game. I understood the game, and I tried to do the most intelligent thing that you could do during the course of a game. And I still remember people say, some idiot on the internet put something up with a video thing that I quit on my team against the Phoenix Suns. Oh my God, whoever that guy is, he should be punished somehow, some way. Because anybody that knows me, there's Not a chance in the world. I'm not going to try to win every game I ever played in anything I've ever done. And to say that I quit on my team, and then the idiot runs some video and stuff showing it because I'm passing, because I'm not shooting all the time. Well, we were having a struggle, and like I say, I do what I think needs to be done. Sometimes you have to try to take over, and sometimes you want to leave and include your other people. So I was passing to guys who had better opportunities than me, and so I wasn't shooting the ball because I was trying to help us win. And we did get back into the game, and unfortunately, we lost in a close Game 7 against Phoenix, which still to this day haunts me more than anything else because we would have been one of the few teams ever to have back-to-back championships. And so, yeah, it's hard to lose and all, but again, I don't know that. I shouldn't even brought that one up because see, I'm getting upset about that one again. I can't believe this guy said that about me. Anyway. Yeah, that I was mad that I got in a fight with Ricky Sobers from the Suns, and I went to the locker room at halftime, and I looked at video. We didn't have a chance to go in the locker room at halftime in those days to watch a video of the freaking game, and I saw that my teammates didn't come to my defense, and so I quit on my team. I was upset with them. Come on, give me a break.
A lot of misinformation, a lot of people wanting clickbait.
Yeah, but that's the problem. People, when they see stuff and they believe it, like you read in the newspaper, come on, especially in today's days, everything is so freaking biased. I mean, come on. It's so hard to find the truth anymore today. You never know what's the truth and what isn't the truth. So it's, it's great what we have with technology and the internet and all that other good stuff, but there's a lot of bad things as a result of that, too, that cause a lot of problems.
There are. Rick, what role did mentors play in your development, and how do you approach mentoring others now?
Well, I had a father who was a semi-pro player and coach, and it was great. Then I had an older brother, Dennis, who was helpful to me as well. And then I had coaches who were helpful to me. I had some who weren't so helpful. You have good and bad in everything in life, and so you have to be intelligent enough to take the good things and avoid the bad things or just disregard them and go about your business. So yeah, I think mentoring is critical, especially for some kids who come from broken families. To have someone that you can look up to and you can respect and that you're willing to listen to what they have to say. But then again, the person, you could be the greatest mentor in the world. If you don't have a person who's willing to accept what you're saying and want to try what it is you're trying to get them to do, you can't be successful. I mean, you can't necessarily change someone's mindset. You can hope you try, but the person has to be... They have to be willing to listen to what you say and want to get better. And if they don't want to get better, you're not going to help them. I don't care what you say to them. All you do is hope that eventually something gets through, and when they're off on their own, just like with kids, you try to tell your kids all the other things. The greatest thing for knowing whether or not you've done a good job raising your kids is that you have the parents of their friends say to you, wow, your child is so great, what a wonderful child doing. Then you've done the job, because the way they act away from you is what matters, not with you, because kids always challenge their parents and whatever, and they think, this kid's, I'm going to kill him. But when they go away, all the stuff you said, they don't act that way. And so when you hear, the best thing in life is to hear the parent or someone in school or whoever it may be talk to you and tell you how wonderful your child is. That's the true indication of whether you've done a good job raising your child.
Rick, I was watching the Summer Olympics and I saw your son Canyon on the 3-on-3, and what a great player. Talking about son, legacy, life lessons, your son Canyon's a professional basketball player. He's also a nuclear engineer. And what key life lessons did you make sure to pass down to him?
Same thing my father told to me. Always give your best effort in everything you do in life. Learn as much about whatever it is that you are going to try to make a profession. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's science, music, it doesn't matter. Learn the fundamental principles and concepts, because that's the foundation that you put down. You can't build a tall building on a small foundation. It'll topple over. And so that's the critical element, the fundamentals. And that's what I did with all of my boys, because I would have camps, I would bring them there. So my sons were fundamentally sound players who understood the game and who were blessed, like I was, with some good natural ability and talent. But it was up to them to utilize that talent and to put the time and the effort into helping to develop themselves to become good at what they were doing. So the only credit I take is I helped lay the foundation. They were the ones that had to build on it.
Excellent. Excellent. Now we're going to do as we close out this podcast, we're going to ask you the rapid fire round, a couple of questions. What's your definition of success?
Interesting. Knowing that every day you gave your best effort in everything that you did. And I am a big believer in that everything in life happens for a reason. And I've had personal experiences that have proven that. One time it took 2 years to figure out why something happened, but when it did, I realized, now I know why that happened. It took 2 years. If it hadn't been for those 2 years, I wouldn't have the unbelievable wife that I have now. Because I had a lot of baggage, okay? I had a lot of baggage, Doug. Older, married, kids. So I had to overcome a lot. She doesn't let me count the five years of relentless pursuit, chasing after her. But had it not taken 2 years for my divorce to go through, I never would have had a relationship that had developed with her in those 2 years that could have overcome the fear that she had of me asking her to marry me. And so that's just the greatest example of anything that I've done in my life to show you that everything in life happens for a reason. And to be successful, just always give your best effort. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. If not, it's just something else for you. There's always something else. So don't get down on it. Like I say, if it's something that makes you sad, cry, get over it, move on. You get knocked down, pick yourself up, and start moving forward again. And so success is being a person who is always going to give their best effort, who is never going to accept failure, and is going to always try to do better that day or the next day.
Rick, I love your mindset perspective on, dealing with loss, dealing with failure. And you obviously dealt with a lot of challenges in your life on the basketball court. What was your relationship with failure?
Hated it. I still to this day hate losing. I hate losing. Absolutely can't stand losing. I can accept it, but I am not happy losing. And I remember in the long driving competition, I had a chance to win another championship when we played. It wasn't artificial turf at the time. And Steve, I'm trying to remember his last name, but Steve was the guy. He was down to the last swing. We had rained all day long, and so the whole field was muddy where you hit on the layout of the yardage and stuff there. And so I had the longest drive, but my ball had hit and plugged. He took the last swing of the competition, hit a ball that hit short of mine, but it wasn't soggy, and it rolled and beat me by about 8-10 inches.
Oh,
that was a crushing one. That was a crusher. But I went up to him and I said, Steve, congratulations to you. I said, I'm not happy that you beat me. I said, but you should be proud of yourself to be able to take as good a swing as you took and to hit a shot that good on the last swing of the competition. You should be proud of yourself for being able to do that. And so you can be a gracious loser, but you don't want to be a loser. You should not want to be a loser. Like, what was it? Vince Lombardi, I think, said, show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. But a good loser. I mean, you can be gracious, but I hate losing. I mean, it's just that simple. Whenever anything I do, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm playing a board game. You should see some of our games. My son's so smart. My wife, we play a lot of games and stuff. It is so freaking competitive. It's unbelievable. And it's great. And I love it. And so, yeah, that's just kind of who I am. That's my makeup, and never satisfied, perfectionist, whatever it is, but not to a perfectionist to the point where I used to get real upset with myself when I was younger. And my father said, son, you can't allow something that happens to get so upset that it impacts your performance to a negative aspect. You can't allow that.
Rick, share with our audience one book that changed your perspective on life.
I wasn't a big reader. I was never a big reader. I enjoy reading. I'm a big, huge movie buff. In fact, reading, I'm so mad at myself because I read The Godfather. Okay, well, it ruined the movie. I knew everything that was going to happen. I would have much rather watched the movie and see all that stuff and gotten surprised by the horse's head in the bed and all that other good stuff. And so,
let me ask it another way. What one person changed your perspective on life?
My father, without question. I mean, because he's the one that formed the foundation, and that's the sadness of so many young people who unfortunately grow up with not having a father around. I mean, if you have a father, it can be such an important aspect of your life. If indeed they are a good mentor, a parent and a mentor, because you really are, as a parent, you really are a mentor for your child. And so that's what you need to try to do. And I think most parents try to do something for their children that they didn't have for themselves. But you can't overdo that to the point that you spoil them. They have to understand, like my father said, like today, we grow up in a world of the kids, young kids here. It's entitlement. They think they're entitled to things. I always remember my father say, "Son, the only thing in life you're entitled to is what you earn. That's what you're entitled to." And so kids today are growing up and they spoil them rotten, and it's crazy, especially in sports when they get young and they have show talent and all. They spoil these kids rotten, and it's a shame. It really is, because you're doing them a disservice by doing that.
Absolutely. Rick, I wanted to touch base on, we talked about, some of the common threads or foundation for you is commitment to excellence, persistence, winning, processing, loss, moving on. A lot of young people, the pandemic and the challenges and global warming and all those issues that young people have, mental health is really important now. Do you have any suggestions beyond what you shared for some of our younger viewers on mental health, mental preparation for university, school, life in general?
Well, I was actually just talking to my friend who's home. I'm here. The biggest thing for me, the difference between being good at something and great at something, people who are great have the ability to stay focused on the task at hand. Keep yourself in the moment. Because in basketball, I'll give you a great example. People say, well, you got to get by your guy. You got to beat your man. I said, no. It's a fine little edge here. I don't have to go by my guy in basketball who's guarding me. I only need to get him on my shoulder and I own him. That's a half a step. As a coach, I know I can get my players to play hard because they know if they don't put the effort forth, they're not going to play, first of all. But the ones that become great are the ones who can stay fully focused. If you're not focused, even if you're playing hard, you'll be a half a step late reacting to things. And a half a step in sports, in most sports, is a disaster for you, a total disaster. And that's the critical element, the focus part. When I coached in the minor leagues, my thing to my players is, guys, we're playing, this is in pros, minor leagues, 48-minute game. I'm asking you to give me 36 minutes where your head is in the freaking game. Just 36, 3/4 of that game. And I guarantee you that if we as a team stay focused defensively, offensively, and we're into what we're doing, and we can get 36 minutes, we're going to win a lot of games because most teams aren't going to be able to do that, and you're going to beat them. And I used to keep statistical things how well we did. And I said, I want to show you something. When we were into the season, I had my assistant guys run this up. I said, let me show you something. Here, this game. We won this game by 6 points. We had 26 minutes that we figured we played focused. Okay? We won this game by 12 points. It was 30 minutes that we stayed focused. We won this game by 18 points. We stayed focused for 38 minutes. This game, it was the correlation and relationship between the amount of minutes that we played really smart and were into the game was the difference in the point spread, the difference in winning the game by a larger margin because we stayed focused for that long. Now, sometimes you might only win by 2, but you stayed focused a long time because the other team was in the game for a long time, but it was enough to give you that 2-point margin. And so that's really critical for that to have happen. The same thing on your job. Whether you're sitting at a desk, whatever you're doing, stay focused. What do I have to do to be able to do my job as well as I can possibly do it? What's going to happen? You're going to get a promotion before the guy who doesn't do that. You're going to advance. You're going to have an opportunity to become an executive in that company. Because why? You consistently perform at a high level.
That's great. Rick, as we close out our time together, the title of this podcast is Mission Possible. What does Mission Possible mean to you personally?
is to set goals for yourself. Like just name me. Come on, I'm 80 years old. I set a goal for myself to try to go out and win the Triple Crown in freaking pickleball. I mean, always set goals for yourself. And because set goals, you stay still focused on what you're doing, and it makes life so much more enjoyable. Now, you might get disappointed. It might not happen. All right, it doesn't happen. What happens? Learn from the mistakes. What did I do incorrectly? What did I do wrong? What can I do better the next time I go out there to perform or to play in whatever the sport is? And always be looking for a way to get better at what you're doing. And don't get discouraged if you're unsuccessful, because, as I said early in the broadcast, you are not a perfect human being. You are going to make mistakes. Learn from those mistakes, which will help you to become better and better and never be satisfied. Just like my free throws, better and better and better, and change. What can I do to get better? Same with pickleball. I'm learning how to do it. I had to learn. My game is getting better. I'm still working on getting better. I'm still going to keep getting better because I'm learning more about it. I'm learning about the game, learning about the strategies behind it. Making, like, I knew if I was going to play singles, I had to get my backhand topspin better. I had to get my backhand slice better. I had to have a backhand that wasn't a weakness, because what will happen in life, if you have a weakness in sports, the premise in sports is this: you always exploit the weakness of your opponent. So if you have a weakness, they're going to exploit it. And you're going to lose a lot because of the fact that they will beat you because you're not very good at something. That's why I had to learn. When basketball, you got to be able to shoot, so they have to guard you normally. You know, you have to respect their shot. And if I can drive left and drive right, you have to play me honest. But if I couldn't go left really well, they're going to take my right hand away, and the only way I'm going to get to do anything is to go left, which I'm not as good at. And so it's the same thing in everything in life, is that don't have any glaring weaknesses. Always, like after the off season, I didn't go out and practice free throws all summer long. I was going out practicing what I didn't do as well to make that better. And so what I used to do as a coach in the minor leagues, and I never had any coaches, I never had this happen before, and I just figured makes sense. I would ask my players at the start of the season, I said, I want you to come back tomorrow. I want you to, two different things. Number one, I want you to give me an evaluation of your skills, offensively and defensively, your strengths and your weaknesses. Then I want you to give me at least 2 plays that you have either had run for you or you wish had been run for you. Now, why I did that? Number one, first of all, I know what the hell they can and can't do. I want to see if they're being honest, right? Are they going to be honest with themselves to say what they can't do as well and what they can? And that's the things that you need to work on. So anyway, so that just gives you an idea of the person himself. Is he honest about his own skills and talents? The second thing was critical. A lot of coaches have systems and they want to run this and run that and do that. Well, I have ideas of what I'd like to do. I think offensively, I'm very creative, and I love offense. I love to create stuff. They're going to show me in those 2 plays where on the basketball court they have the most confidence in their skills. They're going to show me where they want the ball. So if I get, you show me, you give me 2 plays, and you show me that you want the ball on the left wing, right? Am I going to run something in my offense? Can I do what I love to do, and I want to run some patterns? Can I put the ball in your hands where you're showing me you want it? And if I can't, I might just use your play or change things around a little bit. So I'm not going to run something and tip you the ball and give you the ball in the right block if you ask it for the left wing. So it tells me where my guys are. And so I want to make sure that anything that we run or do something, if I'm going to try to help him out, I want to make sure that I give him the ball where he has the most confidence in his ability to perform. Great. Just pretty simple.
Yeah, that's really great. I've really enjoyed our time together. It's flown. Our guest on the Mission Possible podcast has been NBA retired professional basketball player Rick Barry, Naismith Hall of Fame, one of the top 75 players,
top 50,
NBA players.
Top 50.
Top 50, I'm sorry.
Here's the thing. People always come up to me and say, I made the top 50, and they say, oh, congratulations on the top 75. I said, why are you congratulating me for that? I was a top 50 player. I sure as hell should be in the top 75 if it was a top 50 to begin with.
Top 50, my apologies.
That's okay, no big deal.
Rick, I've really enjoyed getting to know you better. If our listeners and viewers want to find out more about you, pickleball, how can they do that?
Well, actually, I'm actually in the process. Before I got on with you, I got on with a friend of mine, Larry Macy, who's very creative. But I'm actually going to finally put together and have a whole website to go to. I have all kinds of products and things that are just amazing that I use, the cannabinoid products, and people can get discounts and things of that nature. I'll give those to you now because I don't have the site to tell them to. It's Medicilleaf, MEDICILEAF.com, Medicilleaf.com. The other one is, and the product there is this Platinum Pro salve that's unbelievable. I mean, I just had some. I put it on this morning, and I'm just thinking about it now. My back was a little stiff when I got up. And my back feels really good right now. And and there's a lot of other products there that are good that have all kinds of liquids and things of that nature. And then the other one is Aloe, ALOEMD.com, and the great product there is called Ultra Repair X, and Ultimate Repair X, and that's a salve that has an aloe base. That product by itself was great, and I got the owner of the company to put some cannabinoids, a combination of like three. People hear CBD. CBD is one of 130 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. I mean, it's crazy. They're going to come out with more and more things, I think, with this plant when they start doing all of this experimentation. But this is a great product as well. I use that on a regular basis. And they have a lot of other great products there also for women with face creams and things. And then there's one last one called Go Sleeves. Go Sleeves. They're sleeves for your knees, for your calf. It helps with the Achilles, the elbows, all kinds of stuff, and developing all new things. And kinesio tape is built into it. I never play pickleball without my Go Sleeves, and I use it on my elbow and what have you. And every one of those, if you put the code in RB, small r, small b, 24, you'll get a nice discount on any of those products if you check them out. I use them all on a regular basis. They're absolutely fantastic. And there's a whole bunch of other things I'm doing. But eventually I'm going to have a website that I have to figure out what URL I'm going to get. But there's so many things I'm involved in that are so exciting and so much fun. I'm probably more busy now than I've ever been in my life. I still kind of work for a living because they didn't have 3 zeros, Doug, on my contract. I'll give you a perfect example. The lowest paid player in the NBA this season will have made more than twice as much money as I made in my best year, and he never plays. Never plays. If I were 30 years old today, I would have a 5-year, $300+ million contract, which I can't even fathom that someone would pay me that much money to play basketball. But so that's the biggest difference between when I played and these guys are playing. It's a totally different lifestyle. But RB24 is the code. Check them out, and then eventually I'll have the website for people to go to. It would make it a lot easier. Then I have to give all those URLs and stuff. It's just a little simple thing. You go to there and you can do everything on the website. So anyway, it was a pleasure. I hope everybody who is listening, if they're listening to this and Thanksgiving hasn't come, I hope you have a blessed and happy Thanksgiving with you and your family. And same thing with a Merry Christmas coming up as well. And whatever other holidays, I know there are other ones going on as people celebrate. So I hope that all of those are blessed, and more than anything else, good health to everyone.
Thank you, Rick. Our guest has been NBA star Rick Barry, pickleball star, winner of the Triple Crown, and a businessman and entrepreneur. It's been a high honor and privilege to have you on the Mission Possible podcast, Rick.
Hey, one last thing. Wait a second.
Sure,
Mission Impossible.
sure.
It was Mission Impossible. I love those movies, right? But Mission Impossible actually was Mission Possible because they did those missions, right? Because
Right.
He was focused. He put the effort forth. When they failed, what did he do? They came back and they found a way to make it possible.
Mission Possible. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, viewers. Check us out on missionpossiblepodcast.com. Carpe diem.